At just before 3 in the afternoon on a gray Tuesday, a Russian pilot in a heavy Sukhoi fighter jet picked up a ghost on his radar that physics suggested should not exist. He was patrolling the border regions, scanning a sector that was supposed to be impenetrable. Yet 10 Ukrainian machines were currently proving that impenetrable is just a marketing term used to sell expensive hardware. These drones had slipped over 600 kilometers into hostile airspace, hugging the terrain so tightly they were practically trimming the grass. The pilot's Urbis E radar was a beast of engineering, pumping out 20 kilowatts of peak power, enough energy to cook a turkey in seconds, and capable of spotting fighter jets from provinces away. But it was designed to hunt metal giants, not these plastic phantoms. The drones had a radar cross-section barely larger than a sparrow, flickering in and out of detection like a glitch in the Matrix. Then, the pilot saw the giveaway that sealed their fate. The high-speed propellers on the drones were spinning at thousands of revolutions per minute, creating a distinct rhythmic pulse in the signal. It was an electronic heartbeat that betrayed them to the machine. Pilot did not hesitate. He flipped the switch and authorized the launch. His R-77 missiles would close the distance in a handful of seconds. In the sterile cockpit, it felt like a guaranteed kill. Down in the weeds, the drones were about to pull a stunt that would leave the million-dollar missiles chasing shadows. The moment the drones detected the lock, they did the unthinkable. They cut their engines mid-flight. Instantly, the solid contacts on the Russian radar screen vanished into the background static. The missiles were already screaming through the air at supersonic speeds, but they had effectively just gone blind. Here is the simple optical illusion that saved the aircraft. When flying at treetop height, radar waves bounce off the ground and create a ghost reflection below the surface. To the missile's guidance brain, there appear to be two targets, the real drone and its mirror image underground. The computer has less than a blink of an eye to decide which one to hit. Because the ground reflection often amplifies the signal due to the angle of incidence, the missile is frequently tricked into attacking the dirt. The first weapon slammed into an empty field, excavating a crater of useless earth while the drone floated silently above the blast. But purely passive survival was not enough. The group needed to buy a permanent exit ticket. Drone number 3 suddenly roared to life and climbed aggressively, pulling up into the kill zone. It was a deliberate suicide run, lighting itself up like a flare to draw fire away from the pack. The resulting explosion was the price of admission. One sacrifice to let 9 others vanish back into the noise. With the threat distraction successful, the remaining 9 drones restarted their motors and leveled off just above the treetops, spreading out over a wide front. The math had shifted entirely against the Russian pilot. He would need several minutes to reacquire 9 separate targets that were now scattering like marbles, and by the time he could maneuver his heavy jet, they would be miles away, lost in the ground clutter. The swarm pressed eastward, trading altitude and one of their own for safe passage through the first ring of fire, but they were flying toward a different kind of wall. Over an hour later, they entered a region of flat, featureless farmland, a navigator's nightmare where every field looks identical. This was exactly why the Russian military had parked their heavy electronic warfare assets there. The first sign of the trap was not an explosion, but a silence. The lead drone's satellite navigation suddenly reported a complete loss of signal. It was not a fade. It was a cliff. The satellites did not just get quiet, they were shouted down by terrestrial interference. The Russians had deployed a Borisogledsk 2 jamming station that was pumping out a wall of electromagnetic noise across the spectrum, turning the airwaves into a chaotic static storm. To understand the scale of this fight, you have to look at the energy economics involved. A GPS satellite signal arriving from space travels 20,000 kilometers to reach the Earth, and by the time it gets here, it is incredibly weak, whispering at the power level of a dim light bulb. The Russian jammer on the ground, however, was screaming with the power of a rock concert from just a few miles away. The difference in signal strength was massive, a ratio of millions to 1, drowning out the delicate navigation data instantly. The drones were effectively blindfolded, their satellite links severed by sheer electromagnetic brutality. But the jamming was just the fence. The guard dog was something else entirely. A Moskva 1 passive electronic intelligence unit was sitting silently nearby, listening to the radio waves with the patience of a predator. It did not transmit anything, which kept it hidden from anti-radiation missiles, but its antennas were synchronized to split-second precision via atomic clocks. It was waiting for just one drone to panic and try to call home. The geometry of passive detection is brutal and unforgiving. If a radio signal hits one antenna a fraction of a microsecond before another, a computer can calculate exactly where the sound came from based on the speed of light. It is called time difference of arrival triangulation, and it creates a death trap for anyone foolish enough to use a radio in contested airspace. The drones, however, were flying on inertial navigation, using internal mechanical gyroscopes to feel their movement without needing outside signals. It is like a blind man counting his steps to navigate a room. The problem is that these mechanical sensors drift over time due to friction and the rotation of the Earth. After hours of flying without a satellite fix to reset the system, the drones could be kilometers off course, missing their target entirely. The mission was teetering on the edge of failure, as the navigation error accumulated with every passing minute. The lead drone's logic board made a calculated decision. It would trade its life for a map update. It broke radio silence for a fleeting moment, just long enough to blast out a position request and sync the formation. That split-second transmission lit up the Russian sensors like a supernova in a dark room. The Russian operators did not even need to think. The system did the work for them. They had the coordinates, and the air defense batteries unleashed a volley of interceptors almost instantly. 48 N-6 missiles accelerated to hypersonic speeds, tearing across the sky at Mach 5 to the source of the radio burst. But the lead drone was already executing the second half of its plan. It banked hard and climbed to a higher altitude, transmitting continuously on all frequencies. It was acting as a Judas goat, a deliberate distraction designed to draw the wolves away from the flock. The missiles took the bait, locking onto the screaming signal source and detonating in a sequence of airbursts that shredded the lead drone but left the empty air behind it, filled with harmless shrapnel. Meanwhile, the other 8 drones had received the navigation update just before the jamming clamped down again. They corrected their drift, confirmed their position, and continued east in total electromagnetic silence, leaving the Russians to celebrate a kill while the real threat slipped away. The Russian operators inside the Moskva-1 electronic warfare station watched the single bright target on their screens disappear in a cloud of static and assumed the threat was over. They leaned back in their chairs, confident that their layered defense had done its job, completely missing the fact that the electromagnetic silence from the east was too perfect. 8 shadows were still moving, gliding through the blind spot created by their own arrogance. They thought they were invisible, ghosts slipping through the gaps in the radar coverage, but they were about to fly into a trap that did not rely on radar or radio waves at all. As the formation crossed the administrative border into the next province, the drone flight computers throttled their engines back to a whisper, reducing the acoustic signature and sipping fuel to extend their range. The landscape below was a patchwork of forests and tree lines, perfect for concealment, but also perfect for hiding the one thing these drones were not designed to fight. Then, without any radar warning receiver lighting up, a missile erupted from a birch grove 3 kilometers to their left. There was no lock-on tone screaming in the operator's ear, no laser warning sensor triggering an alarm. Just the sudden, violent visual shock of a solid-fuel rocket motor igniting against the dark tree line. The Russians had deployed a battery of the 1B-75 penicillin acoustic reconnaissance systems, a piece of hardware that is less about electronic warfare and more about the weaponization of physics. This system does not look for metal or heat. It listens for changes in air pressure. Sound travels at a constant speed of roughly 343 meters per second, depending on temperature, and this constant is the key to the entire trap. By measuring the tiny, microsecond delays between a sound wave hitting microphone A and microphone B, the penicillin's central computer can draw a 3-dimensional map of the sky with terrifying precision. But the real danger lay in the system's digital library. Every combustion engine makes a specific noise, a sonic fingerprint defined by its cylinder count, exhaust geometry, and RPM. The system knew exactly what a Ukrainian drone engine sounded like. It recognized the specific harmonic hum of the motors from 12 kilometers away and handed the coordinates to a Tor M2 missile battery that was running in complete passive mode. The battery commander did not need to turn on his search radar and reveal his position. He just trusted the math. The missile flew silent and dark, guided only by the predicted location of the noise, effectively invisible to the drone's threat detection systems. The drone pilots had zero warning until the missile's onboard radar flicked on for the terminal kill, giving them about 2 seconds to make peace with their maker. The lead drone tried to pull a high G maneuver, snapping its ailerons to full deflection and stressing its composite airframe to the breaking point. But physics is a strict judge, and a drone moving at 200 kilometers per hour cannot outturn a missile pulling 30 Gs. The warhead detonated 40 meters away, spraying thousands of tungsten cubes through the air in an expanding cone of destruction. The heavy metal fragments shredded the carbon fiber wings and turned the aircraft into a cloud of falling debris. However, the second missile, launched just seconds later, got confused. As the remaining 7 drones scrambled to evade the invisible threat, they wildly varied their throttle settings, revving up to maximum power and then cutting back to idle. This erratic behavior changed the pitch and frequency of their engines, since the acoustic system relied on a steady, predictable tone to maintain a firing track. The sudden Doppler shifts caused the firing solution to collapse. The computer could not predict where the sound was going next because the sound itself was changing. Another missile failed because of a software bug in its proximity fuse, activating too early and exploding harmlessly above the formation. But one more drone was not so lucky, lagging behind the pack and catching a direct hit that vaporized it instantly. 6 survivors remained, pushing their engines to the red line. Stealth was gone. Now it was a drag race against the inevitable. The 6 surviving drones were now closing in on their final target, a massive industrial facility spanning 40 hectares on the outskirts of the city. To the naked eye, it was a sprawling complex of gray factories and assembly lines, humming with the activity of the afternoon shift, producing the high-tech printed circuit boards and command modules that kept the Russian war machine breathing. But just half a mile out from the perimeter, the drone navigation systems suddenly went haywire. The facility was protected by a localized Pole 21 global positioning system spoofing field, a piece of electronic warfare kit designed specifically to protect high-value static targets. Unlike simple jamming, which just blocks the satellite signal like a wall of white noise, spoofing is far more insidious because it lies to the receiver. It captures the real satellite signal, adds a tiny microsecond delay, and rebroadcasts it at a higher power level. Because the global positioning system relies on precise timing to calculate distance, that tiny delay translates into a massive error in position. The drones were suddenly being told by their navigation computers that they were 3 kilometers away, flying in the wrong direction and at the wrong altitude. The onboard computers fell into a processing crisis known as filter divergence. The optical sensors saw the target dead ahead, but the satellites insisted they were somewhere else entirely. The autopilot began to fight itself, twitching the wings and oscillating wildly as it tried to follow 2 contradictory realities. It is the robotic equivalent of schizophrenia. The sensors reporting one world while the navigation data describes another. The drone's flight control software had to make a binary choice in milliseconds. Trust the satellites, which are usually the gold standard of modern navigation, or trust the internal MEMS gyroscope, which drifts over time but cannot be lied to by an external radio signal. It chose the gyro. Ignoring the screaming satellite data that demanded a hard right turn to correct a phantom error, the lead drone held its course on blind faith. It broke through the electronic haze, and the optical camera locked onto the distinctive shape of the main assembly building's ventilation units. The dive was steep and fast, converting potential energy into kinetic violence. The shaped charge warhead slammed into the roof at nearly 200 kilometers per hour, punching through the corrugated steel plating and detonating inside the main assembly hall. The blast did not just wreck the delicate machinery. It cracked open tanks of volatile industrial chemicals used in the etching process. The mixture of aerosolized solvents and oxidizers turned the air inside the factory into a massive fuel-air bomb. The subsequent explosion was hot enough to weaken the steel structural beams, causing the roof to collapse inward and sealing the destruction. The pillar of black smoke rising from the first hit became a visual beacon for the rest of the swarm, rendering the sophisticated electronic spoofing completely irrelevant. The second drone did not need navigation or gyroscopes. It just aimed for the fire. It dove into the chaos, compounding the damage and ensuring that the facility's fire suppression systems would be overwhelmed by the sheer volume of heat. The remaining drones arrived from different angles, striking the power substation and the warehouse, igniting stockpiles of lithium batteries that burned with an intense, self-sustaining heat that water could not extinguish. This phenomenon, known as thermal runaway, meant the fire created its own oxygen as it burned, melting through concrete floors. Final drone arrived late, circling the inferno once to capture the damage on camera before diving into the few remaining standing structures to ensure the job was done. In a matter of minutes, a facility critical to the production of air defense command systems was reduced to twisted scrap metal. The production line was gone, meaning the replacement parts for Russia's defensive network would now be delayed by months, leaving the door open for the next wave.